I'm one of the directors and senior faculty members of CSC, the Centre for Systemic Constellations. And I'm a psychotherapist. I work both with individuals and with couples. I'm a constellation facilitator, a trainer, a consultant. And probably most importantly, I'm a partner. I'm in a relationship. And I'm a father of two. Two children from two different families. So I know about living and managing blended family dynamics. And my partner and I have been together for 22 years, and it's a happy, loving relationship. And like any relationship, it has its ups and downs. It's not perfect. And then prior to this particular relationship, I was a member of different relationship forms, and some of which I have made a real mess of. So I will be speaking from the experience of the good and the bad. What I'm going to do is I'm going to talk to you for about 15 minutes or so, tell you about who the course is for, some of the challenges of being in a relationship, and some of what we'll cover on this course if you would like to join. You know, what we're doing here is giving you an opportunity to see what we offer as something that would interest you and engage with you, and something you would like to enjoy. After about 15 minutes, there'll be an opportunity for you to ask questions. The talk is being recorded, and for those people who have signed up to it, and those people who don't come, they will be able to watch it on the CSC Hub. We'll also be putting it on YouTube, but only my talk, not the questions and answers. And because it's pinned, none of your faces will appear anywhere at any time, so you can keep your anonymity. So that's setting the scene. How many have we got? Lovely, a nice number. So let me begin. So this couples therapy course that has piqued your interest was developed and taught by Judith Hemming for around 16 years. I was originally a student on the second cohort, I think, in 2001. So I know it from both sides of the fences as a student and as a trainer now. I subsequently supported Judith on 3 of the iterations after that. And then for the last 7-8 years, I've been the lead trainer with Jane James, who can't be with us here today. And I absolutely love teaching on this course. It's an absolute delight. I think Judith created a wonderful form, which has such a lot of inspiring teaching, a wonderful form to give you practice in actually doing couples therapy, something that also can inspire self-development and understanding of relationship for yourselves. And I know it's had a real profound effect on other people's lives. And it also, each time I teach it, it has an effect on me. I really feel impacted. So it's a course designed for a number of different groups. You know, for therapists and counselors who want to learn the specific skills of working with couples as opposed to individuals, because it is a different form. It's also for coaches to work with 2-people systems. And it's for anybody else who wants to learn about being in a relationship and to support their own relationship. Participants do need to have some form of people work in their background to make best use of it. And of course, one of my main motivations for delivering this course is that I find there's a real shortage of couples practitioners in the world, because many of the people who offer couples therapy training haven't actually done a specific training in it. And I really do believe it requires something specific, because it is a different stance. So it is designed to help people see and work systemically with the 3 interacting systems that are alive in the room. when you work with couples in two-person systems, because there's two individuals who come from their own family background. They each have their own system. And then there's the therapist who comes from their own family system too, with their own influences. So the three come together. Also brings the wider family and social systems that surround the couple and often influence in hidden ways. And we draw both on the Gestalt theory as a basic orientation of the work and the systemic constellation philosophy. And this combination allows us to move our attention between the present, the near past, and the further past. You know, we are all fed all sorts of stories of romantic love by TV, by film, by the wider culture, by religion. And the happy ever after scenario where two people fall in love and disappear over the horizons holding hands is just a fantasy. Because the reality is that relationships are much more difficult and they're hard work. You see, an intimate relationship is an ongoing and challenging journey of connecting two separate life journeys of the two partners who themselves come from different places, from different backgrounds. Now, relationships do need to be worked on. They need to be nurtured like a garden or a flower. And we sometimes forget that. And people, we can all forget that our loved one doesn't know exactly what we're thinking. They can't mind read us. We make these assumptions sometimes. You know, all relationships develop fixed patterns in which we communicate and of how tasks are done and how things are divided up. And these fixed patterns then become blind spots and sources of conflict. And there is no right way of being in a relationship. You know, all relationships, I'm just going to close my window, it's probably quite noisy. You know, all relationships are uniquely co-created. You know, though there are many recognizable stages and themes and patterns and common issues which we will cover. And like individuals, couples have a journey and they can mature and develop. You know, along this journey, there are several natural tensions that relationships have to navigate. And as I go through a few of them, I just want you to sort of apply them to your own experience of being in relationships. Just hold these particular ideas, these polarities, and see how they fit with your own experience of relationships. You know, firstly, there is the delicate balance between being close and being separate, intimacy and independence. And these two aren't easily put together. You know, as I said, all relationships develop ways of being together that provide familiarity and stability. And yet we will each long for some form of separateness in the relationship, to be apart, to be able to grow as a person. And there's often a lot of deadness in relationships when there's too much closeness and belonging. And sometimes there's too much insistence upon it in relationships. And then the danger of acting out in relationships may come when the longing for autonomy is thwarted and not given space. So it doesn't find its place alongside the belonging. And this is often a reoccurring theme in couples work. And then there's being versus doing. You know, we need to have access to our capacity for just being with ourselves and with the other, not doing anything, just hanging out, seeing where we go, what takes us. You know, being is a fundamental experience. But we also need to be able to know how to do the tasks of life, the tasks of a relationship, the tasks in a family. We have to interact with other people. Things need to happen. So we need to know how to do together and divide those sorts of things. And then there's innocence versus guilt. And this is the fundamental mechanism of conscience. It's to do with belonging, where if we do belong, and if we do the things that enable us to belong, then we feel innocent. And if we step away from that in order to take actions that are different from the rules of our relationship, then what we feel is guilt. And in no relationship are both people ever innocent, and neither are both villains, but there's a mixture of two. And then there's the tension between child and adult. You know, each of us have child needs. And some of our child needs are very sweet, and they bring the nurturing out in our partner. But some of them are also annoying and can be spiteful. What we want to do with couples work is to help people move between the playful simplicity of the child into the more focused possibilities to be an adult partner to our partner. And then linked to this tension between being stable is the polarity of being stabilized by the other and being stabilized by ourselves. You know, children can't manage things on their own. They can't necessarily soothe themselves if they're upset. And of course, we each look to our partner to support us and care for us and sometimes soothe us, especially when we're having a really bad day. But if we rely overly on our partner, then that creates an unevenness that doesn't serve a good balance in a relationship. And one of the things that we talk a lot about in the course is balance in a number of different ways. And then there's I versus we. And there are people who use the word we all the time, but then we don't know who they are. And as a partner, they become merged with us. We can't feel our difference. We need to be able to move between we to I and back again. It's very important. It kind of relates back to the tension between being together and being independent. There are a few other tensions too, but I want to keep this fairly brief really, so it can be more of a question and answer and discussion. On the course, we'll explore, what a relationship is for, what their purpose is, what intimacy actually is, what it consists of, what serves intimacy, and what doesn't serve it. And we'll look at how the tasks of a relationship change over time. Because what is required in the first years of a relationship, when all we want to do with our new partner is go to bed with them and find out about how wonderful and shiny they are, which is rather different from when you're together trying to work out how to discipline children. Or if you're both near to retirement and you're trying to work out how to grow old together and manage the sorts of questions of losing your identity and your status in the world as an old age pensioner often can bring. And then there are cultural shifts that we will look at in the institution of marriage, how the expectations of long-term relationships have shifted, and that we're not necessarily going to be with the same person until one of us dies. That sometimes it's more acceptable now to have 1 or 2 or 3 long-term relationships. And then there's the issues of monogamy versus open relationships and polyamorous relationships. And the influence of culture and how culture really shapes relationships. And then the challenges that cross-cultural relationships can bring. So I really want to emphasize today that working with couples is actually very different from working therapeutically with individuals, because it requires us to position ourselves differently. You know, those of you that know about individual therapy, either as clients or as a practitioner, with individual therapy, we are the other in the relationship to the client, and we use ourselves as the instrument of the therapy. But with couples, when you work with a couple as a therapist, we set ourselves back. We're more of a consultant or a coach at times, almost like a psychoeducator. And we intervene only after observing, by inserting ourselves in and sharing what we're noticing, or offering an experiment to help them with a new experience. What we promote is that you look at the process between a couple, between partners, not so much the content of what they say. As I said earlier, we bring to the course the Gestalt model of watching how a couple dance together in real time in the room. You know, who leads, who follows, who's fast, who's slow, you know, whether they're close or distant. Every couple has their own particular dance and a patterned dance. And when we've been together with someone for a while, we don't see the dance anymore. And we don't see all the other possibilities, all the other options. We lose our flexibility. We lose our plasticity in a relationship. And that's where, you know, things get stale and things get difficult. So watching the couple forms the basis of the therapeutic work or effective coaching interventions. And this requires us to track phenomenologically what's going on with the couple. We're watching how they do it, how they speak, how they move, whether they interrupt, whether they give each other space, whether they make long speeches or short speeches. You know, all of these things are wonderful information for which we can use and offer experiments and variations. And we will teach the positive framing to support a couple's strength. You know, couples forget in the midst of a crisis that they're having all the good things they have in their relationship, all the good things they've been doing for years and have made their relationship a success. So one of the things we first do is really hand them the strengths that we notice before we look at the kind of the undersign, the negative version of these particular strengths. And we will teach an even-handed neutral stance. You know, our job is not to be judge or jury, but to help a couple see what they're doing together, how they're co-creating something out of awareness that is the problem. We're not looking to blame. And you know, how we see it is that our client is not the two individuals, but the relationship itself. You know, we're looking at the co-creation of issues. And we want to show you how to provide experiments, practice opportunities of new behaviors, of new things, just to try out, not to say this is right or wrong, but to give people a different experience. You know, what we see is that the purpose of couples therapy is to strengthen the couple so that they're able to solve their own problems together, not to rely on a therapist to be able to solve their problems, but they will have the skills to do it themselves. And then we will bring to you the systemic lens to help you understand the more unconscious motivations and actions of partners. You know, how the balance of give and take and roles and beliefs are developed through personal loyalties and deeper systemic entanglements and burdens. And we will place a lot of emphasis on understanding what supports the flow of life, of love, flow of love, intimacy, and good connection, and how to use the constellating process in the consulting room. You know, we'll obviously talk about sex, and we will bring in Bert Hellinger from the NEOS Institute, who is one of the top sex therapist trainers in this country. He'll be coming in for a day. And let me just share a screen if I can find it. Where's my screen? So I want you to see, yeah, I think this is it. No, that's not it. There we go. So hopefully you'll be able to see this. This is some, I just wanted you to see some of the kind of the actual topics that we will be bringing you, just for you to have a look. I'm not going to go through them. just so you get a sense of the different elements that we will be offering you and bringing. Yeah, and throughout this, we'll be holding in mind and discussing the similarities and differences between other sex and same-sex relationships. In terms of how the days are structured, what we actually do in the course, there'll be elements of didactic teaching. We'll be providing exercises for self-exploration about your relationships. We put a lot of emphasis on skills development and skills practices. Everyone will, in effect, have a partner, and you will be in a couple. We will make you into a couple for the duration. And you as a couple will both be a client couple to others, and you'll also be joint therapists to another couple. So you get time to practice these skills. And the other element is that we will be doing real demonstrations of work with couples. So we will either bring couples who have issues that they want to work on, or you can bring your partner in and be a couple yourself, and one of us will demonstrate some aspect of the work with you. Go well, enjoy the evening. It's still beautiful outside if you live in London. I imagine most of you are in Britain, but I have no idea. Okay, take care. Bye-bye now.